Hello, children. Get yourselves ready for the next chapter in our story, I Was There, 1066, The Norman Conquest, by Jim Aldridge. It was then that my father called over two of his own men who were nearest to us. Raise my son up so that he may see the Normans, he commanded. I want this to be a day he will remember, the day when we defeated the invader. I want the image of the Norman army to stay with him. He must see them. The two men grabbed me, one at each side, and then lifted me up so that I could see over the heads of the men in front of me. I had seen large armies before, as at Stamford Bridge, but the sight I saw that morning of the 14th of October, 1066, was like nothing else I had ever experienced. Thousands and thousands of Norman soldiers, row after row of them, with spears held aloft. The early morning sunlight was glinting on their chainmail and their metal helmets and the points of their spears coming towards us. And right at the front of the foot soldiers, rows and rows of archers. Behind the foot soldiers came the cavalry, hundreds and hundreds of horses ridden by chainmailed soldiers and knights armed with spears. Put him down, ordered my father, and the two men lowered me to the ground. Thank you, I said to the two men and to my father. How do you feel? Asked my father. Like a warrior, I replied. Suddenly, the trumpets near to us blared out. Their archers are getting ready to fire, said my father. Immediately, like the rest around us, we raised our shields so they lay flat above our heads. Then I heard the sound like 1,000 birds flying through the air, getting louder and louder, followed by the crash as their arrows fell down on our shields, their points sticking into the wood and quivering. We kept our shields flat above us as more arrows fell on us, then more. Some arrows managed to get through the roof of the shields and stuck home, down in soldiers near us, but mostly our shields kept us safe. We heard our trumpets sound again and lowered our shields. The first onslaught by their archers was over. Then I heard the trumpets sound again. Here they come, muttered my father. Be ready. I felt the men around me move slightly forward towards the outer defensive line of our shield wall. Although I was in the middle of the mass of soldiers and protected, I could feel the nervousness in me rising. The Norman infantry would soon be falling upon us. If our shields gave way, the Normans would break through. Would I be up to the challenge of hand-to-hand combat against warriors older and bigger and stronger than myself, like the men I had been eating and talking with at the Norman camp the night before? I heard yells and shouts from our front line and heard the clash of metal against metal and metal against wood as the Normans crashed against our shields. The men behind me surged forward, pressing me forward as our whole army threw itself against the enemy in support of our soldiers at the very front. We pushed and pressed, holding against the Norman onslaught, the air filled with cries and yells and the ear-splitting noise of heavy weapons crashing against each other. It was impossible for me to see what was going on. All I could do was join in with the others in pressing forward against the back of the men in front of me, with my wooden shield keeping me from being crushed. I could feel that we were actually moving forward bit by bit, one half step at a time. Was it because our front line was giving way? What is happening, Father? I asked, but he shook his head. He couldn't hear me above the noise of battle. Instead, he looked straight ahead, his face grim, his sword held ready. The men in front of me were forced back, forcing me back in turn. Then they moved forward again, a whole mass of men moving as one, like the tide moving in and out from the shore. Join us again tomorrow for the rest of our story.